The phone call came at 2:47 a.m. Charlie Kirk stared at the screen, his closest friend's name glowing in the darkness. He answered, and in that moment, everything he'd built over 10 years collapsed. But what happened next? Nobody saw it coming. Let me take you back to where it all started. 2012, Charlie Kirk was 18 years old, standing in a nearly empty conference room in Phoenix, Arizona. He had a dream: create the largest conservative youth organization in America, Turning Point USA. But dreams don't pay the bills, and Charlie had exactly one person who believed in him. His name was Marcus Reynolds, 32 years old, political strategist, and the kind of guy who could open any door in Washington. Marcus saw something in Charlie, that fire, that relentless drive. He became more than a mentor. He became Charlie's right hand. For 7 years, they were inseparable. Every major decision, Marcus was there. Every crisis, Marcus solved it. When Charlie faced his toughest critics, Marcus stood beside him, unwavering. They built Turning Point USA from a handful of college students to a movement reaching millions. Charlie trusted Marcus with everything: his strategies, his fears, his weaknesses. But here's what Charlie didn't know. Marcus had been playing a different game all along. It started small, so small that Charlie almost missed it. June 2024. Charlie was preparing for the biggest speech of his career, the American Comeback Tour. The plan was to visit 50 universities in 3 months, mobilizing young conservatives before the election. It was ambitious, it was risky, and it required perfect coordination. Marcus was handling the logistics, the venues, the security, the media partnerships, everything. One afternoon, Charlie walked into Marcus's office unannounced. Marcus was on the phone, his back turned to the door. Charlie heard fragments of the conversation. "Yes, I can guarantee the crowd size. No, he won't know. The optics will be perfect for your narrative." Marcus turned around. His face went pale. He quickly ended the call. "Who was that?" Charlie asked, his instincts suddenly alert. "Just a vendor," Marcus replied too quickly. "You know how these production companies are, always trying to upsell." Charlie nodded. But something felt off. For the first time in 7 years, he didn't quite believe Marcus. That doubt? It was just the beginning. 3 weeks later, Charlie received an anonymous email. No subject line, just an attachment. He almost deleted it. Spam, probably. But curiosity got the better of him. He clicked. It was a video file, grainy security camera footage from what looked like a restaurant. The timestamp read June 18th, 2024, the same day Charlie had walked in on Marcus's suspicious phone call. In the video, Marcus sat across from 2 people. Charlie recognized them immediately: Sarah Donovan, senior producer at a major left-leaning news network, and David Chen, communications director for a prominent progressive PAC. Charlie's heart pounded as he watched. He couldn't hear the audio, but he could see Marcus sliding a folder across the table. Documents. Sarah leafed through them, nodding. She smiled. Marcus smiled back. Then Charlie saw it. Clear as day. Marcus accepted an envelope from David, thick, presumably filled with cash. Charlie's hands trembled. He replayed the video, again and again, his closest ally, selling him out. But to who? And why? Charlie didn't sleep that night. He sat in his home office staring at the frozen frame of Marcus taking that envelope. Questions flooded his mind. How long had this been going on? What information had Marcus leaked? Were there others involved? And most painful of all, had their entire friendship been a lie? By sunrise, Charlie made a decision. He wouldn't confront Marcus immediately. He needed more information. He needed to know the full extent of the betrayal before he acted. For the next 2 weeks, Charlie played the role of his life. Around Marcus, he was the same trusting friend, laughing at jokes, discussing strategy, sharing plans. But behind the scenes, Charlie hired a private investigator. What they uncovered was devastating. Marcus had been feeding information to progressive media outlets for 18 months, internal memos, strategic plans, even personal details about Charlie's vulnerabilities. In exchange, Marcus received over $400,000 in untraceable payments. But it got worse. The investigator found proof that Marcus had been sabotaging Turning Point USA's growth, leaked donor lists to harassment groups, tipped off protesters about event locations, even planted false stories to damage Charlie's credibility. And the American Comeback Tour? Marcus had set Charlie up for the biggest public humiliation of his career. The plan was simple but brutal: overcrowd venues beyond capacity, creating safety hazards. Then, when authorities shut down the events, progressive media, already tipped off, would blast Charlie as a reckless demagogue who endangered students. Charlie stared at the evidence. 7 years of friendship. All a calculated deception. Now he had to decide: expose Marcus publicly or handle this quietly. Charlie Kirk didn't get where he was by playing defense. He chose offense. September 8, 2024. Charlie called Marcus into his office at Turning Point USA headquarters. The room was carefully prepared, recording devices hidden, 2 lawyers waiting in the adjacent conference room. Charlie's most trusted security personnel stationed nearby. "Marcus, sit down. We need to talk about the tour." Marcus settled into the chair, relaxed, confident. "Sure, what's up?" "Everything's on track for Utah Valley next week." Charlie smiled. "That's exactly what I want to discuss." "Walk me through the security arrangements one more time." For 20 minutes, Marcus detailed the plan. Charlie listened, taking mental notes of every lie, every manipulation embedded in Marcus's words. Then, Charlie leaned back in his chair. "You know what's interesting, Marcus? I got an email a few weeks ago, anonymous, contained a video." Marcus's expression shifted, barely perceptible, but Charlie caught it. The slight tightening around the eyes, the adjustment in posture. "What kind of video?" Marcus asked, his voice carefully neutral. "Security footage from Giuseppe's restaurant, June 18th. The color drained from Marcus's face. Charlie continued, his voice cold and measured. "I saw you meeting with Sarah Donovan and David Chen. I saw the folder. I saw the envelope. And over the past 2 weeks, I've seen a lot more." Marcus opened his mouth to speak, but Charlie raised his hand. Don't insult me with excuses. I have bank records, I have emails, I have testimony from 3 people you tried to recruit to your little operation." Silence. Marcus slumped in his chair. For the first time in 7 years, he had nothing to say. "Here's what's going to happen," Charlie said, sliding a document across the desk. "You're going to sign this resignation letter. You're going to return every cent you were paid. I'll give you 90 days, and you're going to disappear from politics. Forever." "And if I don't?" Marcus finally spoke, his voice barely a whisper. Charlie leaned forward. "Then I go public. Every detail, every transaction, every betrayal. And you know what happens to people who betray trust in this world, Marcus. Your career won't just end. Your reputation will be destroyed so thoroughly that no one, not your progressive friends, not your family, will want to be associated with you." Marcus stared at the resignation letter. His hand shook as he picked up the pen. Marcus signed. He packed his office that same day. No farewell email, no explanation to staff. He simply vanished. Charlie told the Turning Point USA team that Marcus had to step away for personal family reasons. Most bought it. A few suspected there was more to the story, but they didn't push. But Charlie wasn't done. With Marcus out of the picture, Charlie took personal control of the American Comeback Tour logistics. He hired new security, vetted every vendor, changed venues, and most importantly, he installed people he could trust, people whose loyalty had been tested over years, not just promised. The tour launched on September 15th, 2024. And it was a massive success. No incidents, no sabotage, just thousands of young conservatives energized and ready to make their voices heard. By the time the tour reached Utah Valley University on September 10th, 2025, Charlie Kirk had proven something crucial. He didn't need Marcus Reynolds. He never had. But here's the twist nobody expected. 3 months after Marcus's resignation, Charlie received a letter, handwritten. Mailed from an address in Montana, it was from Marcus. In it, Marcus didn't ask for forgiveness. He didn't make excuses. Instead, he did something Charlie never anticipated. He explained. Marcus wrote about his own insecurities, about feeling overshadowed by Charlie's rising fame, about resentment that festered over years, about the moment progressive operatives approached him with an offer, not just money, but recognition, importance, a sense that he mattered beyond being Charlie Kirk's guy. He wrote, "I convinced myself I was fighting for a greater cause. But the truth is, I was just fighting against my own insignificance, and I destroyed the best friendship I ever had in the process." The letter concluded, "You showed me mercy when you could have destroyed me. That grace is something I'll spend the rest of my life trying to deserve. Thank you, Charlie, for everything, even for this ending." Charlie read the letter 3 times. Then he filed it away. He never responded, but he also never went public with the betrayal. But here's what Charlie did do. 6 months later, Charlie was interviewed on a major podcast. The host asked him about leadership and loyalty. Charlie paused, choosing his words carefully. "I've learned that people are complicated," he said. "Sometimes the people closest to you will disappoint you. Not because they're evil, but because they're human. They have their own struggles, their own demons, their own moments of weakness." The host pressed, "Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted?" Charlie smiled, not with bitterness, but with genuine peace. "Yes. And it taught me more about leadership than any success ever could. Because when someone betrays you, you have a choice. You can become bitter, spend your energy on revenge, and let that betrayal define you. Or you can learn from it, set boundaries, and keep building." "So you forgave them?" the host asked. Charlie shook his head. "Forgiveness isn't about excusing what someone did. It's about refusing to carry the weight of their choices. I moved on. They moved on. And honestly, I'm grateful for what happened. It forced me to build systems that don't rely on any single person. It made our movement stronger." The interviewer never knew Charlie was talking about Marcus, but Marcus, watching from his small Montana cabin, knew. That night, Marcus wrote in his journal, "He could have destroyed me with one sentence today." Instead, he showed the world what grace looks like. "Charlie didn't just forgive me. He refused to let my betrayal diminish him. That's the difference between us, and that's why he'll always be the leader I could never become." Because Charlie Kirk understood something that Marcus never did. True strength isn't about revenge. It's about moving forward, building something bigger than any one person's ego or betrayal. So what can we learn from Charlie Kirk's story? First, trust, but verify. Even your closest allies can have hidden agendas. Charlie's mistake wasn't trusting Marcus, it was trusting him blindly for too long. Second, control the narrative. When Charlie discovered the betrayal, he didn't react emotionally. He gathered evidence, built a case, and confronted Marcus from a position of strength. Third, mercy has power. Charlie could have destroyed Marcus publicly. The headlines would have been brutal. But by handling it privately, Charlie maintained his integrity and avoided becoming the villain in someone else's revenge story. And finally, your mission is bigger than any one person. Marcus's betrayal hurt, but it didn't stop Turning Point USA. It didn't stop the American Comeback Tour, because Charlie built something larger than himself, and that's what endures. Charlie Kirk's story reminds us that betrayal is painful, but it's not fatal. What matters is how you respond. Do you crumble, or do you rise? Charlie chose to rise. He took the betrayal, learned from it, and became stronger. That's the mark of a true leader. Now, here's my question for you. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted? How did you handle it? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one. And if this video showed you a different side of resilience and leadership, hit that subscribe button. We're diving deep into the untold stories of people who faced their darkest moments and came out stronger. Next week, we're covering another story you won't believe. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Until then, remember, Betrayal reveals character, and your response, that defines you. See you in the next one.